because you said something. You said women, we marry off feelings. How many men you know they got a good woman, but they married her for what they can do for her? Men, I think y'all married for what they can do for you. Because there's a lot of men, let's think about our friends, let's be for real. They have a good woman, they may treat her wrong or whatever. She's a good woman, I know she'll be a good mother, she'll do all, but do you like her? Do you really like her? You don't.
Well, what's up, everybody? Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Whatever time you're watching this video, good night. Hello, guten Tag, Wiedersehen. Wherever you are from watching this video, we really appreciate you. You could have been doing anything today, but you're watching the world according to us. This is WAU, where feelings don't matter, these facts do. You know what I'm saying? This is your host, your boy Michi, and I got a dope show for y'all today. I got a dope panel. I wanted to make sure I came for some fire for y'all. So before we get into the topic, let's just introduce, see who we got around here, see why we need to listen to them. You know what I'm saying? Let's start out with, you know what I mean, Miss Fresh over here. What's your name? You know what I mean? What you doing in here today? Why do the people need to listen to you?
Yo. No, I'm just joking with you. My name is India. My Instagram handle, FrazeIndy. I guess if y'all want to know what I do, I'm a corporate baddie. So I work a 9 to 5.
A corporate baddie.
Corporate baddie. I'm a project manager in fintech. So follow me, Instagram, FrazeIndy, FRAISINDE. Indy with the brimmy and maybe a stimmy.
Fuck with it. Hell yeah. Now, sir, what is your name, man?
It's your boy DbeezyBaby.
Baby.
Holla. I'm your natural born hip hop artist from Phoenix, Arizona, born and raised, slave to the sun like everybody else out here. You can find me everywhere just in case you want to feel a vibe. That's DbeezyBaby. You heard?
And real quick, y'all, I'm gonna tell you, my man is dope. Like, I wouldn't bring him on this podcast if he wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So check him out. He's on all platforms. I was gonna say aspiring artist, but that would be me talking shit. You know what I'm saying? You are an artist. You know what I'm saying? I've heard your music. He's cold. Y'all check him out. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. And beautiful. What's your name, girl?
Shoot, I'm the co-host. My name's Erika.
What's up?
You know what I mean? And I would consider myself a little baddie too. I work all types of 9 to 5, all that good stuff. So I just want to come in here and share my opinion with y'all.
For sure. Hell yeah, we fuck with it. Thank you guys for coming on the panel.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a good show today. So first and foremost, I want to let you guys know what we're talking about. The topic is hookup culture.
Ooh.
Hookup culture. That's what we're going to be talking about today. My first question for you guys about hookup culture is, one, do you believe that we have adopted a hookup culture in the U.S.? And if so, I mean, not if so, but why or why not? What do you think, India?
Social media. It's easy now. Before you could actually miss a bitch. Now you can go find her on Instagram.
So you can
miss her. Now you ain't got to. Before cell phones, you have to go all day without talking to somebody. Now you can find her anywhere.
So it sounds like you believe that we are living in a hookup culture.
Absolutely, 100. We are absolutely in a hookup culture in the U.S.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. Sir, what you thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's almost like it's endorsed. How damn it, they expect you.
That's the word, endorsed.
It's an expectation at this point, and if you're not into that stuff, then you're the weirdo. You know what I mean? So
real talk. So one thing, before we continue on with the rest of the panel, I do want to let you know, I did kind of get a Urban Dictionary definition of what hookup culture is. Let me know if you guys agree with me, if you have a different definition of what you think it is. But what the Urban Dictionary says is hookup culture is one that accepts and encourages casual sex encounters without including emotional intimacy, bonding, or a committed relationship. And that's why I brought that up, because you said the word encourage. So with that being said, you believe that the U.S. is encouraging people to live in a hookup culture?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I absolutely believe it.
Can you elaborate? Why do you think that?
It's taught. It's taught. This is how you deal with these kind of sexual feelings. If you're having these encounters, don't worry. This is how you deal with those kind of things. You might find yourself dealing with multiple sexual partners throughout your life, and in those circumstances, you know what I mean? It's the same situation that happened when they introduced DARE to schools. When you got people coming into the schools discussing all the ins and outs of drugs, you're introducing these kids to a whole nother world that they would have otherwise had to find on their own. You know
I feel that. That's a good, okay, for sure. That's a good perspective. Miss Erika, what you think?
I
Do
think
we live in a hookup culture?
I want to say maybe we don't they don't push it. I wouldn't say society pushes it. I think they push sex. You know what I'm saying? For sure, sex. Do I think that we've gone like back in the day. Do I think they pushed like more marriage and stuff? For sure, definitely, because I think morals out here are different.
Well, really quick, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when you say that they're pushing sex, wouldn't that be exactly what we're talking about? Pushing hookup culture? You're encouraging people to be intimate?
Yeah, I guess, but they almost do it in a passive aggressive way. I guess that's the way I see it.
What do you mean by that, passive aggressive?
Like they just, movies are a little bit more explicit. Our songs are a little bit more explicit. You know what I mean? There's just a little bit more. The generation before us was very sugarcoaty, and we're very much in your face. I think the same thing is going down. It's just we're doing it in front of your face type shit.
For sure. No, I feel like I can completely agree with that point. I was actually watching the comedy special with Eddie Griffin. I don't know if you guys know anything about him or not. But one thing that he did say in his comedy special was he was saying that when it comes to hookup culture, I'm trying to explain this in the most PC way. I don't want no haters. I don't want no enemies. You know what I mean? But I do feel like, one, in America, it's definitely pushed. I got some crazy statistics for you guys that I want to share really quick. And forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but these statistics come directly from the GNU, GITNUX. So GNU, I'm assuming GNU Market Data of Research in Relationships. They state that 70% of sexually active people ages 12 to 21 have had their experiences within the context of hookup culture. They say that 60 to 80% of college students are reporting participating in hookups at least once. They're claiming that about 50% of college students have actually had an uncommitted sexual encounter within their first semester. So, I mean, with those things that they're reporting, I mean, I think it's kind of obvious to say that we live in a hookup culture. You know what I mean? But with that being said, it sounds like we all agree. Nobody's against that. What do you think caused that shift in society from the traditional values and traditional morals to where we are now in hookup culture? What was the beginning point of that? What do you think?
Well, for me, I like to change my answer. I don't think that the U.S. is pushing it, but we're black and brown sitting around this table. I think the media, I think music pushes it. We could say that they had morals before they pushed marriage, but women didn't have a say-so in that. They tried to take away abortion, our rights. So they kind of don't want us doing that right now to begin with. They're trying to take away plan B. Some of y'all on y'all plan C. I'm not here to judge, but listen, okay. So I don't think that, if anything, I think sexual liberation is just more, especially for women, is like acceptable now. Before then, it was always sex viewed from the man's view. Now you have women out here dog walking niggas.
So when I'm asking you, I said, what do you think caused the shift in society? You think it's the sexual liberation of women?
I do.
For sure. No, I think that's a great point. I couldn't agree with you more, honestly.
Because now you see women are calling the shots now. Before then, it was always, again, through the male gaze, what men think. Now we're stepping away from that. We don't care what men think.
Well, really quick though. When you said that women are calling the shots now, I have to disagree with that point. I feel like women have always been the gatekeepers of sex. Always. Like, men, we're not fucking if you don't let us.
Well, but we're also talking a little bit farther back when like girls didn't have choices.
Yeah, and marriage was more a sense of, for me, like, to survive.
Like to survive.
Well,
like,
what choices are we talking about now? See, and this is the thing that I want to say about marriage too. We got to get this down pat. I feel like men and women look at marriage differently, and maybe that's causing this hookup culture and things that we're going through right now. Because I feel like a lot of women, you guys want marriage based off of feeling, based off of, oh, I got that butterfly effect, that Disney Channel love, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he's making me feel this type of way, we want to get married. When originally, marriage was a business contract. Like, if you look historically.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to cut you off or anything, but you also have to think, like, if we were back in that mindset, like, there are women out during those times, like, women were seeking 85-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to find the oldest motherfucker I could find so that I know he's dying off in the next year, so I could take his estate, I could take his children, I could sell them off. Fuck them. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you really wanted it back into that mindset, girls, it would be a different game out here. Like, almost like how you have OnlyFans.
That's the game now.
But
the game's never changed.
It's looked at differently though. You look wild if you were a girl trying to go and marry an 85-year-old.
I don't think so. Women are doing that now. That's a common practice now.
It is.
Where younger women go marry older men that are making a lot of money.
Yeah, but they're not getting, they're not sitting there like getting praised for it. People are definitely talking shit.
I feel like I'll agree with that. I feel like female promiscuity has always never been looked at as a good thing. So we can agree on that point right there. But I do want to take it back to the hookup culture. Is there anything else that I missed that you guys think that may have contributed to why we switched as a society from traditional values to the hookup culture side?
Well, you know how you mentioned that marriage used to be transactional.
Yeah.
I mean, a more sort of business contract.
And I think it still is. I think the only time that marriage isn't transactional is in the West.
Well, because you said something. You said women, we marry our feelings. How many men you know they got a good woman, but they married her for what they can do for her? Men, I think y'all married for what they can do for you. Because there's a lot of men. Let's think about our friends. Let's be for real. They have a good woman. They may treat her wrong or whatever. She's a good woman. I know she'll be a good mother. She'll do all. But do you like her? Do you really like her? You don't. But she do these things for you that you've been accustomed to. You've been taught that a woman should do this and that. So if she do X, Y, and Z, but for men, y'all don't consider emotion. So women, we do marry for that feeling and butterfly. And y'all will marry a bitch because she can cook and clean. And she may let you get away with doing what the fuck you want to do.
So are you saying, so I'm trying to relate this back to hookup culture. Are you saying that that's the reason why like a lot of men are going out and cheating, having one night stands, doing things like that because they're not marrying specifically because they like that person?
Men have always done that. How many people, grandpas had 4 and 5 families back in the day? That's always been a thing. This is nothing new. Men always just had the power back then because how many men you know back then had 2 and 3 families? Hell, even now, men had the power to choose and now women are taking that back. And we're flipping it. You can't make us feel bad for wanting to be single because it used to be a thing. Oh, you're gonna be 30 and single and alone. I'm almost 29 and we're like, what the fuck that's supposed to mean? We could be 30 and
That's
single.
the thing. I feel like it doesn't matter until you get older. Life gets real lonely after 35. You know what I'm saying?
For some.
I feel like for most.
I feel like for most.
I feel like for most.
I think for men.
I'm not making this a guy or girl conversation at this point. I'm saying for people, period. After 35, if you're by yourself, you're going to be feeling really lonely. But DBZ, I think you had something that you wanted to say. I didn't want to cut you off. I didn't want you to lose your point. What were you going to say?
I was actually going to, I was going to say, to touch back on what she said, I mean, media, social media, TV, news, you know what I mean? Like a lot of the most popular shows and stuff display the worst qualities of of people, and that's why they're so great. That's why people love those shows in the first place. You see Real Housewives and all this other stuff, and you see all of the controversy where they doing all this stuff on the side. You realize, well, there's more of them that have cheated than there are that have been faithful and stuff like that. And it's just like that on social media. And we all understand that social media is depressing and stuff because you see all of these qualities in people and stuff like that. And those people are famous for the bad things that they've done. You know what I mean? So
what do you think, Erika? Like, I agree with what they said. I think that a lot of societal pressures have kind of changed the traditional values of what we do in the U.S. But what do you think yourself?
Personally, I think the one thing that got me, and maybe it's a part of the society thing, but like marriage and how loose it got with the generation right before us. Like, I don't know how many people, I know a lot of people got a lot of divorces in their life. My parents got divorced. And because of that, like, part of me feels like people are not looking for long term anymore because we don't believe in that, because we didn't see it. You know what I mean? Like, all of the people before that, they got grandmas and grandpas that have been together for 60, 80 years, and that's dope, but our parents couldn't make it past 10, and so part of me thinks that you got a whole generation of kids that didn't see something long term, and I feel like it has its effects on us type shit. You know what I mean? And that's where the hookup culture, I think, could be affected by that.
No, I 100% agree. And one thing that I wanted to do, I know it was kind of a loaded question I asked you guys because I feel like there's a lot of factors that kind of contributed to why traditional values have kind of left our country. For me, I feel like it kind of goes back to how far back you want to go. So my thing is, I would say it could even go as far as back as the invention of birth control. You know what I mean? Because before the invention of birth control, you had to be sexually responsible with how many people you were sleeping with. You had to be sexually responsible because you didn't know who could be the dad. You didn't know, you know what I mean? So I think with the invention of birth control, because I want to take it back to what you said earlier about sexual liberation. I think that once women had the ability to have birth control, they didn't have to have as much responsibility with who they were sleeping with. I feel like before that invention of birth control, as a woman, you had to choose who you were sleeping with and make sure that they were the best candidate possible because of the possibilities of having a baby and things like that. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
See, I would disagree though. I don't think they were any more responsible back then. There was no condoms or anything. So to me, anything, they were just as loose back then than they are now. Like we said, how many of your grandfathers had 2 and 3 families and he didn't find out till you're 30 and you're looking at your aunt in the kitchen. So I don't think they were more responsible back then.
no, I feel you. There's a lot of stories of people saying like they show up at the funeral and there's 2 wives there.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
so
saying? So, no, I get you. I get you.
Again, so I don't think so. Again, Erika made a good point. She said something about our grandparents. You know, some people have grandparents who've been married 40, 50 years, but when it goes back to liberation of women, a lot of our grandmothers, they're not going to talk about it because they're from that time women couldn't talk about it. They're miserable. Just because they stayed together does not mean anything. And I think we always get caught up on, oh, my grandmother and my grandfather were together for 60 years, but she hated that nigga for 55 of them. So tell the truth. My grandparents been married 48 years. The year they got married, women could have their own bank account. That was 1975.
So Devin, I don't want you to lose your point, but I do want to respond to what she was saying really quick. One thing I do want to say with that is we're saying that women were miserable.
Not all of them, but let's not. I think we get caught up because they're not staying together like our grandmothers or our grandfathers. Back then, people kept things in house. There wasn't no social media, so the things they went through,
I agree with you.
They didn't say anything.
I just think it was more back then they understand that marriage was about duty rather than love in butterfly feelings in your stomach.
I think it's more about
let's
social.
put it like this. I just want to put it in a sense of like, for all of us to get it. We are millennials, right? We don't know if this is true or not, but they say all the time that Social Security isn't going to be around when me and you are 65 years old.
Believe it.
Right? I don't know if
believe
that's
it.
true. I don't know exactly what's going to happen,
better
but
believe
people
it.
know that Social Security isn't going to be around. So with that being said, due to inflation and everything else, there's no way that you can make it to the end of your life by yourself off of a single income.
I think that's what they're betting on now.
I think that's societal. So like that's kind of what we got into. I think that we were talking about societal pressures and things like that. But I think a lot of times, like I said, you cannot make it to the end of this life off of one income.
It depends. And okay.
Let's put it like this. 65 to 80, what is that?
Like 20 years?
20 years?
15.
15 years?
80?
15 years? Let's say 60 to 80 is 20 years. We'll keep it regular number so everybody can understand that. 60 to 80 is 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. You're retired at that age. You're not working anymore. So if we can already agree that there's going to be no Social Security, what that means is that you have to have liquid assets set in your account ready to go to pay for you. So that means that you have to have at least $2 to $2.5 million to equate for, you know, inflation, all that stuff, to make sure that you can make it to the end of life just to live on a $50,000 a year salary for 20 years. That's if you do the math, that's $2 million to $2.5 million to accrue for interest and inflation and things like that. So with that being said, you literally cannot make it to the end of life by yourself unless you're making 6 figures a year, which we can say that's a small percentage of Americans, guys or girls. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my point on that. I don't think it's so much women are unhappy, because if you look at statistics nowadays, the most unhappy demographic of woman is 40 years old and single. Mm-hmm. Because the thing is I feel like a lot of times we talk about sexual liberation and things like that, but what we got to understand is men and women, we're different. We get pleasure from different things. Why is it that when I go to another man, the first thing I say is, hey, how you doing, whatever, when I'm meeting him, what do you do for a living? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Women, you guys ask about the kids. You guys ask about more social constructs, where men, we ask about what you do for a living. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We're completely different individuals. We gain happiness from different things. So with that being said, I just don't think that you could equate women back then being miserable, because I don't think they were. Because I think that the most beautiful thing that you could do as a woman is have a family, have a kid, have kids. You know what I mean? Like when I go to like a family reunion, I look at my great grandmother and I look at the room and I realize that nobody in that room would be there without that woman. That is the most amazing thing a woman can do, in my opinion. Fuck her career. Fuck how much money she's making. I don't give a damn about that. Mm-hmm. I'm a traditional man. I feel like men should be paying all the bills anyway.
I'm picking up traditional vibes from you based off what you say. And see, I'll say, as a person whose great grandmother is living, who's 92 years old currently, I'm not going to say she's miserable, but back then I feel like, again, women put up with a lot because you depend on a man to pay everything. Women didn't come into the workforce. We did not come into the workforce until about the late 70s and 80s, where we started pushing for that liberation. So again, back then, women put up with a lot because your livelihood, that man could leave you and you have nothing because you've been a wife all your life. You've been at home. Versus now, you have women who have degrees. I'm one of them. I have a degree. I have 2 degrees. Now again, I'm bringing down the black women. We're the most progressive group statistically girls, men, Latinas.
Yeah, you
who
guys are
making
literally
money
graduating colleges
and making more money.
Money at a faster rate than men.
Now we have the choice, because back then we didn't make the money. It was pushed on us to get married, have kids. If we're gonna do statistics, let's look up how many women are getting married later. Why? We're now realizing we're not in a rush to have kids. Yeah, there's a lot of us that do. I'm not one of them, but there's a lot of us that are waiting to have kids.
I think
Why?
women are getting married later, but there's also other statistics out there that say that by 2030, more than 50% of women are going to be single.
But I think that goes.
The reason behind that is because you guys aren't satisfied with the men that are out there. But that's another conversation. We'll get to that. I want to keep it to hookup culture. DBZ, I think you had a point. I hope you didn't forget it.
No.
Okay, for sure. We've been waiting on you for a little bit. So what did you want to say, bro? Sorry about that.
It was actually so just to make sure I position this correctly. You had mentioned the whole birth control affecting how promiscuous pretty much everybody has gotten.
Women specifically. I'm gonna be the bad guy because I know nobody wants to say that. Look, let me look at the camera when I say this. I'm gonna be the bad guy.
But
I'm
in your
women
example,
specifically.
that you gave of birth control, you also kind of elicited that men also saw that freedom as well. So that's why I was saying people.
Y'all benefit from it too.
Can you explain how I
Benefit from it
elicited
too.
that?
By saying that now you're not going to be stuck with babies and stuff like that, because that goes to both genders. That's not just specific to women.
For sure. Okay.
So just to kind
No,
of
that's real. That's real.
No, that's real.
But
y'all
to
benefit.
be real,
Got me.
at the end of it,
Boom.
Got me.
Press that button. Boom, 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 boom.
He got me, y'all. He got me.
Press that button.
Okay, right. Press
the
the
reason
button.
why I had something to say about that was because I know you kind of contended against that, but in reality, you know what I mean? Like, as a whole, it's not like we continue to see birth rates rise as a whole in this country, just, because people are more promiscuous or anything like that. At the end of the day, like, once birth control came into effect, we did see a huge hit when it came down to not only the fertility of this country, but also birth rates in this country and things of the sort. Even though, yes, statistically, people were having more sex, you know what I mean? But as time changed, I don't see that as being the driving factor. I feel like we've got more access.
I don't think
to
I was
people
saying
now.
that was the driving factor. What I was trying to say was that is one of the major factors. I said what started the shift.
Yeah.
That was the question. What started the shift from traditional values to hookup culture? And I think one of the things that started the shift, as early back as you can go, is the creation of birth control. Because at that point, what that does is eliminate the responsibility, let me not say from women, but from both parties, men and women. Because as a man, if I know that you're on birth control, I might.
You shoot up the club, please.
I'm shooting up the club for sure.
Be
You know what I'm
serious.
saying?
Be
You know what I'm
serious.
saying?
No
Kids
man wants to
everywhere.
wear a condom unless you're an athlete or a rapper or a politician. Be for real.
Yeah, real talk.
Facts. But yeah, not necessarily the driving factor. It'd be more of the fact that people have gotten so much better access to people. You know what I mean? Yes, we're in the information age where it's like literally in seconds I can just grab my phone and find an answer to anything. Anything.
sure.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
I pass you by in the 70s. If I passed you by, all I got was your name. I'm not seeing you again unless
We
I
might
want to
never
spend
speak.
an hour and a half going through this big ass phone book that everybody's got on their desk. I might never even find you because of how many people are in this book. You know what I mean? So
In this world.
exactly. Now I can just scroll down a list of faces. Oh, that's them right there. Let me make sure I follow them. I forgot to say this earlier.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's so much easier to not only find people, but also hide shit and stuff of the sort. Opportunity is just endless, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily involves just how promiscuous people are. I feel like that is, yes, a factor to it, but I think we got to kind of call it like we see it. More people have access to more people. Not only do I see all aspects of a celebrity's life, but I can find out my neighbors too. I can see old girl in her swimsuit without even having to talk to her and stuff of the sort. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Real talk.
so
Real talk.
You make a good point, because I think about the girls who go out to the club and you curve a guy. You can't have my number, but you can follow me on Instagram.
No, for
Here,
sure.
let's get to it.
For sure, that's a
so
big
you
thing
can
right
still
there.
watch me and look at me and from afar,
Okay.
but you can't get close to me. You know what I'm saying? But you can watch my every move. So
Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No. I
sure.
think I got everything.
For sure. So I wanted to ask you guys, with that being said, is this only a Western problem? And when I talk Western, I don't want to say Western as in the United States. I'm talking Western philosophy, Christianity, more, because I feel like a lot of times when the more close you are to prosperity, the more you deal with your gender roles, things like that, yada, yada, yada. So with that being said, do you think this is just a Western problem, or do you think this is something that the world is affected by?
I think the world's affected by it. Anybody who has a phone and has Wi-Fi, I think you're affected by it.
So in your opinion, you think that the entire not country, but the entire world is dealing from hookup culture, is dealing
Yes.
with hookup culture?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless you're living in those communities like the Amish, you live in very small communities where you don't have Wi-Fi, internet, which is rare.
Even they get out.
Again, they get out. Listen, tell the truth. They get out too.
So
But I
morals
think
are dead.
everybody- I don't think morals are dead. I think we've just changed what the definition of morals is. That's what I think. I don't think they're dead. What are these morals? The morals that we're going on, are they based, what are they based off in? Is it in faith? Is it in religion?
That's what I was gonna say.
Is it in-
us living in a Western society? We can honestly agree that majority of people here are going to be Christian. In a majority of the Western thinking worlds, they're Christian. You know what I mean? Like even when we're talking about Western Europe, that's where the Crusades were. We're talking about Christianity. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean when I say the Western world.
Because I would even say, I mean, people that are Christian, right? You read your Bible, they say the man is the neck, the man is the hand, the woman's the neck, or you're supposed to obey your spouse. You know what I'm saying? So I think we find these things to justify why we believe certain things. Like, you know, the man is the head of the household, so you do what you're taught. You're supposed to do what he says. And in 2023, we're like, but what is that nigga really saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you can say all day, but what are you really saying? You know, again, and I'm blessed to see, I knew both my great-grandparents, my grandfather's parents and my grandmother's. So I see that shit going back 90 plus years. And then my grandparents have been married since 1975. So
Beautiful.
I see both sides. I see what they're talking about, and all the way up to now.
So I'll agree with you that it's not a problem that just the Western cultures are facing. I think it's a big ordeal in the Western cultures. It's bigger. Do you have something you want to say? I don't want to cut you off. It looks like you have a thought.
Definitely not say it's a Western issue, but I also wouldn't say it's a world issue, because we see the same things happen in places like China. Shoot, there's the joke about Thailand and everything that goes around. Like, you got to watch what kind of female you're messing with, because it might be a ladyboy type stuff. Like, the promiscuity of people, I don't even really see a correlation for real. Like, you see the rich countries, and not every rich
No, I think there's
country is
definitely
like that, but at the same time,
I don't mean to cut you off, but what I want to say is when you say that there's not a correlation between sexual promiscuity and where you're from, there definitely is. The reason why is because I think it all relates to
that's not what
societal
I'm saying.
issues.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, then
I'm saying
elaborate for me.
not from where you're from, but money in your pocket. Just how wealthy your people as a collective is. I don't see a correlation with that. I see a correlation with the issues that your country or region are dealing with. You know what I mean? Because some countries are dealing with, you know, issues that we don't have to deal with out here. They're out there killing their own animals and stuff to eat and stuff like that. They're not worried about the little things that we're worried about. Just like how you said, like, to a certain extent, you know, as you get more wealthy, you start worrying about deeper things.
They say it all the time. Jay-Z said it, more
more
money, more problems. I got 99. So I get what you're saying. You know
but
what I mean?
to a certain extent, some people aren't even worried about the money aspect like that, because it's more of like an ancestral kind of deal. You know what I mean? You're trying to continue to please your ancestors, and in that situation, I'm talking about places like Africa. You know,
But that's what I'm saying. I think it's more based off of cultural values. I think the U.S. doesn't have those cultural values that other places has. Like, when I can give you examples, Portugal, Spain, Italy, it's very common for the kids to stay with the parents until they find a lifelong partner. So you're literally living with your parents until you find a husband or a wife.
Like
know
in
what I mean?
Japan too, yeah. Or the parents come live with you.
That's a very, very societal thing. You know what I mean? So because in their society, if you leave your parents, you're looked at as you're not helping them. You don't care about your family. You know what I mean? Whereas in the U.S. of A., if you're 18 years old and you're still living with your parents, you're a fucking loser. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying when I'm saying the different societal pressures. They're encouraged to find a husband or wife so they can leave the nest. Here, we're encouraged to leave the nest and then go find our husband and wife. So that's what I mean by societal standards and different cultural standards that we have. You know what I mean? So I understand what you're saying. It's not monetary things that I'm saying, but it's definitely cultural. So it definitely depends on where you're from, depending on if you're cool with the hookup culture or not.
It's like it's definitely a cultural thing, because it's not just solely the United States. oftentimes there's cases where you can point out people being worse than the United States, you know what I mean, where we're not at that level yet, where we don't have those brothels at every corner type stuff. So you know what I mean?
I feel you. And then like another example to talk about what I was saying, like the Netherlands, what they do, and I'm not saying that this is something that we should do in America. I feel like because we have so many people here, we have over 327 million Americans. I think at this point it's about 330 million. So what works for another country might not work for us. And I'm logical enough to understand that.
Right.
But we can take from what other countries are doing and implement that here just as a baseline to see if it works or not. Mm-hmm. The reason why I say that is because one thing that the Netherlands is doing is they have one of the most effective sex education courses in the entire world. I'm not just talking about the country, but the entire world. And because of that, they teach their kids from 4 all the way till, I think you looked at the statistic, you said 11, right?
Yeah.
They teach your kids from 4 to 11. By the time you're 11 years old, you should know a little bit about proper touching. You should know, you know what I mean? Like stuff that's acceptable for kids to learn, things that you would want your child to learn. They teach their kids this, and because of that, they have one of the lowest teen pregnancy rates in the entire world, as well as STD rates in the entire world. So I do feel like when I say it's societal, it truly is, because if a country in itself is teaching those values, the people are going to adhere to that. Right. I'm not saying that you're going to, because there's always exceptions to the rule. You know what I mean? Just because you're going to do something doesn't mean like. Just because you're the exception to the rule doesn't make it the rule. That's basically what I'm trying to say, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I just think that if America did a little bit more better societal practices, maybe we wouldn't have these issues.
Absolutely.
And I do think too, like it's like you said, it's all about what the country's gonna, because Africa, there are queens over there right now that they get to go, guys, line up in a line, start squawking and stuff to be the best squawker, and I say which one I want to be my husband, and I already have a husband, you know what I'm saying? He's over there, but I get to have 3, so I get to choose my one. So I do agree with you, it definitely is societal.
What fucking tribe is that? What fucking African tribe is that? I ain't never heard of that motherfucker.
Look it up. I'm being for real. There are places where the sexual freedom is a little bit more free. Like even if you think about like Paris, you know what I'm saying? People are going to the beach and they're naked, you know?
No, and I feel you. I do 100% agree with that. That's why that's why I asked you guys the question, do you think it's 100% a Western problem? Because there's a lot of countries in the world that do have sexual liberation. Like for example, Iceland is a very liberal when it comes to hookup culture. Because like with the US, I'm sure we've all heard of it, like the 3-date rule. Before you let the
somebody
guy
smash.
get in your pants or whatever, you know what I mean? Before, you know what I mean? You shoot the club up like you said earlier. We have the 3-date rule. And correct me if I'm wrong. If I have any Iceland viewers and you want to tell me that I'm saying something wrong, let me know. But from my research, Iceland is very liberated because the approach that they have is what they do is you sleep with the person and then decide if you want to deal with them romantically or socially.
And that almost makes sense.
In a lot of Latin American countries,
sleep with them first and then figure it out.
You know what I'm saying?
And they even start talking regularly, like socially.
and in a lot of in a lot of Latin American countries, PDA's acceptable. You know what I mean? So I understand that it's not just a Western problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I do think it is predominantly a Western problem. If it wasn't a Western problem, we wouldn't have shit like passport bros, where they're going out of the country to find a wife, not somebody to sleep with. Like how we're talking about hookup culture, but they're going out of town to find a wife.
Right. Because
they feel like with this hookup culture and things that are going on in America, they can't find those traditional values.
Right.
So they have to go overseas to get them.
Ooh, but if we're going to mention the passport bros, let's be honest. Is it because you can't find a woman who fits your traditional values, or you have some unresolved issues you need to resolve? If you're a cornball here, you're a sucker over there. Just call it what it is. They know a green card and a meal card when they see it. There's a podcast with a lady who's Asian who said, black people, she said, when I go, your parents are much better at telling y'all, this bitch, I just want a green card. She said, I go with white men, their parents sit there, they praise them, and they live in their mother's basement. She said, but a lot of us, so I just feel like with the passport bros, we need to decompress that, because are you going over there again? Is it because you can't find somebody here, or you can't find someone, you were looking for someone you can control, manipulate?
Think that's the case. Because a lot of these people, they're not going to third world countries where they're not developed. A lot of these dudes are going to like the Philippines and stuff, where people speak English, where they have education, where
they want to leave though,
and things like that. It's not about the fact that they're trying to find a person that they can manipulate. They're trying to find a person that adheres to the traditional values that they want. Because in America, let's be real, most women aren't traditional women. If I tell you I want dinner made and I want you to cook and clean and all that shit, a lot of women like conditional femininity is only a concept in the West. It's not a concept anywhere else you go. So a lot of these dudes, I feel like they're being demonized for their preference, and when it's not a bad thing. They just want traditional values. We're not going to places, or I'm not going to, like, I don't want to call out a country because I really, like, I'm not the most traveled person out there, so I don't know the economic situation of everywhere, but I don't think it's solely about people just want to abuse or manipulate a woman. I think it's solely about the fact that these women in other countries are taught traditional values, and that's what men want.
So I guess my next question is, we get this, so we would have to break down what's traditional, because a lot of the men who want traditional women aren't traditional men. Are you holding down a 9 to 5?
Yes.
Are you paying all the bills? Not you, but these men. Let's talk about it, because a lot of men, guess what? They listen, a lot of y'all want to be sassy. I want to be the one. I want you to chase me. So let's be honest, because it has changed. Men want to be chased now too, because before then it was an assumption that I got this and that, so you come with me. So we were taught to just go because he got this, he got that. My grandfather had a good job. He has this. So he has those things that I've been taught are good. But is he emotionally stable? Does he have X, Y, and Z? So when I say these passport bros, you want these traditional women, and again, we need to really break down what traditional is, because what it comes down to is not you say they're not manipulating, but again, it's you want dinner at 7, whatever. But again, are you taking care of all the bills? Are you doing X, Y, and Z? So I think we would have to really break down, because if you look at what you see on TV, you see I'm gonna be honest, you see a sucker, a cornball, and then you go and get a woman in Vietnamese who don't speak English, and you want her to do what you think she should do. And she tell you to your face, she talking shit about you. We got the subtitles out.
Okay. Let me really back into.
I'm just saying. Let's just break down what traditional means, though.
And y'all, if you like this conversation and you want to hear a little bit more about it, it looks like we have to have a part 2 in a different conversation.
For sure.
We will. But I do want to reel it back in, because we are talking about hookup culture, right? So with that being said, we kind of discussed, why we think it started. You know what I mean? Why people are going different ways. What it is. One thing I want to do is find out what type of impact do you think that hookup culture has on a society? Is it good? Is it bad? You know what I'm saying? What comes from hookup culture?
I think it's bad. Personally, I feel like to a certain extent, there's a loss of respect as a whole when it comes down to how we look at each other and how we treat that moment, you know what I mean? Because at one point in time, shit used to be special. But like at the same time, even before then, like you see somebody's shoulder, you see somebody's knee, and that sent you off the rails type stuff, you know what I mean? But now, again, everything is so much more available that a lot of shit has lost its special touch. A lot of shit is just regular now.
Lost its
you know
mystique.
what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
That's what you mean?
Okay. So I wanted to ask you guys really quick, what type of impact, if any, does hookup culture have on our society? Don't answer all at once now, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
I'm dying to hear what Erika got to say to this.
Yo, what's up?
I think the major impact is on marriage. I think that the hookup culture, like everybody was saying, is very free, very all access to your fingertips, just easy peasy. And I think because of that, marriage is going downhill. Kids are not being born. I think they're kids are being born, but they're probably, in a difficult
Kids
situation.
are expensive too. Let's talk about that.
Right. But I just think that that's what's being hit most is the family life. The attack on family life is a hookup culture thing, I think.
For sure. I feel that. What do you think, India?
I think it has a good and a bad effect. I mean, in a sense that you're getting to know, how do I want to say this? In a sense, like, you want to hook up with somebody, you do it. But I think the effects, the long-term effects could be like, because you don't get to know that person. You miss out on them. I have a lot of friends or know people, y'all hooked up, whatever, but they're a good person and you didn't go through the channels of getting to know them. You went straight to that and you missed out. Or they're a horrible person and you went straight to that and you have to find out afterwards. So I think it takes away the getting to know a person.
For sure, for sure.
I think that aspect is missed out on.
Was there anything that you wanted to add to that, Dbeezy?
Yeah. Personally, I feel like there's a certain level of dignity that people lose. You know what I mean? You don't have to hold yourself to a certain standard at that point. You know what I mean? You just got to hold it for one day. Half the time, it's not even a whole damn day. You know what I mean? A couple hours type shit. You hold that mask up as strong as you can, and then as soon as they're gone, you right back to being a bum type shit. So it's like it shows the wrong type of example of how you're even supposed to carry yourself. You know what I mean? You're only supposed to, you know what I mean, live a certain type of way up until a certain point of the day, and then you can be free.
You know, and if I can say, you make a good point, because everybody on their best behavior when they want some pussy or some dick. So
yeah,
therefore,
sure. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear.
Thank you. So you see a person, so you make a good point. You see who they want you to see. They say you don't get to redo a first impression. So they show you what you want to see till them jaws come off. Then when it's all over, that motherfucker turn into Spider-Man.
Holding that
swing
mask.
about that bitch out of here.
Real talk, real talk.
You know what I'm saying?
I did want to touch on what Erika said. She said that it takes a huge hit on families and families and marriage. I do agree with that. One thing that I do know, and this is scientific, you know me, I always got to come with my statistics. Research from the Medical Institute for Sexual Health and Wellness goes on to illustrate that the importance of oxytocin when it comes to bonding. Casual sex actually leads to a decrease in the neurological production of oxytocin, which actually interferes with something that we call pair bonding. So, and this is for guys and girls, the more sexual partners you have, the less ability that you're going to have to pair bond with your partner because of the release of oxytocin. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think that that's going to have a huge impact on the family life. So I can completely agree with that point right there. And then other than just that, like let's keep it simple. Like just the effects of hookup culture on society. What about like sexually transmitted diseases?
Yeah, that too.
You know what I mean? Those are definitely on the rise in the U.S. right now.
Absolutely.
So is the training against them.
You said the training against them? What do you mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because now they're trying to push it into elementary schools too. Like, okay, hey, let's make sure we teach these kids about sex so that we can avoid, any of these STDs and stuff.
So real quick, I do want to touch on that though, because I did tell you that earlier, that in the Netherlands, they teach kids from 4 to 11 about sex. Of course, they are careful with what they teach. They talk about appropriate places to touch, things like that, and then they gradually progress as you get older. But in that country, like I said, they have one of the lowest rates for teen pregnancy and STDs. So is that really a bad thing, or is it a good thing?
I mean, it's not necessarily about whether it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's what's being taught. Who's regulating this stuff? Where are the checks and balances coming from? All right, you say that they are, at this point, they're the example, right? Because they have the statistics that we're pushing for. Well, what comparisons can we draw to our curriculum to theirs? That's what matters. Not that we're doing it to. That means nothing. Just because you're doing something, similar to somebody else doesn't mean you're doing that thing correctly.
I feel that, for sure. I feel that. Anything you want to add?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
No, you're good. I said, how do you think, what's the type of impact, if any, does hookup culture have on society? We talked about, like the emotional and mental well-being. We talked about the lack of families and marriage. Oh, yeah. I just wanted to see if there's anything you wanted to add on that before we move on.
No, I think we touched on everything.
Sure.
I just want to say to what Erika mentioned about, I know the decrease of families, it sounds like that's very the American. You want families and kids. Kids are a lot. Let's talk about that. It costs $1.5 million to raise one child. Mm-hmm. I got friends who are married and they're not having kids right now because it's just too expensive. Yeah, let's talk about the cost of living and inflation. So when we talk about those type of things, maybe infecting the family, but let's talk about why people aren't having kids like that either, just because that's expensive. Jobs aren't paying like that. We just came out of a pandemic. So I think there's a lot of factors we have to consider when we're talking about the family aspect. With the hookup culture. Hey, sometimes, listen, you just want to get a nut. Let's be honest. We're all human. We are all human. So let's not act like everybody we done met, we thought we was going to marry or be with. We're all human. Sometimes you had an itch that needed to be scratched, and that's what the fuck it was, and you left it at that. So, and what's wrong with that?
I'm going to shoot some shots real quick. Y'all ready? Real quick. Bang, bang, bang.
We're all adults here. Let's be honest. We've all been there. We all have needs. So
I'm prepared to be the bad guy. You know me.
I know you are. Come on. This is the devil and his advocate.
I want to ask this.
Excuse me.
So when we're saying that, can we say it's because the price of box has been lowered?
The price of what?
Box.
The price of box has been lower.
Price of the coochie's
As a
been
coochie.
lower.
Yeah.
Well, back in
yeah.
the day, if I was 20 years old or something like that and I wanted to get a little bit of coochie, I had to get married. I had to marry you. You know what I'm saying? But nowadays, it's like, why be committed or monogamous if I don't have to? If y'all are giving it up for lower prices than ever, why do I have to commit or be monogamous?
That's exactly what I was talking about.
Like we talked
earlier.
about women being the gatekeepers of sex. So with that being said, if you guys are lowering the price of box, why would I want to commit to you? I feel like that's a big contributor to hookup culture too.
Also, but let's flip it too, because it's not act like it's not easy to get a nigga either. Post a picture and a nigga like it and slide in your inbox. You ask him where he gonna give you right that address. Women, we're a little bit different. We might meet you down the street. Motherfuckers will give up that address. So let's I'm gonna flip it from the women's point of view. Same thing with men. Why would we sit here and you know what I'm saying? We know what we want from you. There's plenty of women, we just want a nut. So why would I act like I don't want it? But at the same time, you know what I'm saying?
When you're gonna go get it anyway.
We're gonna go get it anyway.
Because I think society tells you that you can't be as, like, don't get me wrong. I feel like that's also why women are very secretive of their body count. Because we know that in some way, shape, or form, like, men care about that. So with that being said, it's like,
Which is weird.
You wanted to get in. I mean, it's not weird. Why is that? Why do you consider that weird?
I think it's weird considering we talk about men. We know men who smash anything. Rubber, no rubber.
Yeah.
So I think it's very, what's the word I want to say? I can't think of it right now. For you to sit there to say, to worry about a woman's body count, well, you've been fucking in and everything that's coming through. Maybe with a rubber, maybe not. So I guess I'm speaking from the point of view. I see a lot of men. I don't know how many men you know that's conservative with their body? You know any niggas that's not giving it up, that's celibate?
A lot.
You know, y'all know a lot of men that's celibate?
I know a lot of men.
Yeah. This is-
what you don't understand is a
lot,
majority of men are celibate. There's only a small percentage of men that aren't. Because the majority of women are going for the same type of guy.
The ones that do get the women usually get a lot of the women, which is
A lot of the
sad.
same women. You guys are just fucking the same
It's
guys.
sad.
Most men are single, monogamous, and they're just not getting the play.
Because the thing is, if
You're not worried about the nigga that works at GameStop. You're not worried about the nigga that works at McDonald's. You want the nigga that's the ball player, the rapper, that's 6 foot tall. Like most women want a nigga that's 6 foot tall, making a certain amount of money. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's bad. I think as a woman, biology, I don't want to say forces you guys to do that, but as women, you guys are set up to find the best partner possible.
Right.
And I don't think that's bad. I think you guys should. But I just think that most men are invisible to women.
I would
Well,
say
go
at
ahead, you're busy.
times, oh my bad.
No, you're fine, go ahead.
I would say at times, you know, this conversation pops up and it feels like it's a gendered thing when it's really not. There's going to be on both sides of the coin, whether you're a woman or a man, you're going to think to yourself, depending on what part of the class you're on, depending on how attractive you are, how well off you are in society, yada, yada, this and that, it's going to depend on that, how you feel about the other gender. Oh, yeah, they only want this. Oh, yeah, they only want that. You know what I mean? Because of the fact that you're at a certain place, certain hot females are going to say, oh, yeah, there's certain women that are always going to be down. And guess what? Certain men are going to say that exact same thing. Oh, yeah, there's always going to be some females that are always down. You know what I mean? I know that at all times I can hit up so-and-so like that.
I mean,
you know
that's
what
real, but let me ask you this. And actually, I guess I'll point this at the ladies. And be 100% honest. Could you fuck a guy you hate? Like, homie looks good. He's an attractive man, but you hate his laugh. You hate his personality. Like, could you fuck a dude you hate?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna go no on that one.
Men can. If you look good enough, we'll smash.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? If you look good enough, we'll smash.
we know that.
You might not be my girlfriend. I might not wife you up.
I think hate
But
is a
just
bad
be-
word. I think hate is a bad word
Okay,
there.
so, but you know what
You
I'm
can't
saying?
say
Like, I
that
feel
you
like-
can't tolerate that you can.
That you can't tolerate. Like, let's
that
be real.
that you're
We know
not
what I'm
attracted
saying.
to in you know
We
what
know
I
what
mean?
I'm saying. As a man, you being good looking isn't enough.
Yeah.
It isn't enough.
Yeah.
You got to have good looking and something else. Charisma, money, something.
But let me play the devil's sheet advocate, because you're talking about the homie at the GameStop. Because you said women fuck the same type of men. Men do too. Let's not act like the men at GameStop.
India, let's be real. Niggas will fuck anything that moves.
Well, listen,
Like,
no,
come on, we're not fucking the same
No,
women.
we're gonna say that niggas will fuck anything that move, but also the nigga at GameStop is still trying to get a bitch that's at his league. Let's be for real. The nigga at GameStop, because guess what? There be the regular bitches that get overlooked. Y'all overlook them for another bitch.
That's not
for that.
true,
That depending on she may look better. This, that, and the third. You'll overlook the anime emo girl
That ain't
and
true.
go for the other bitch, and then when the bitch destroy you. or she do this and the third. Cause let's not act like men take heartbreak and listen. Let's be.
I'm not
for
saying
real.
that, but India, let's be real, dude. Men are not denying women like that. There's a certain sect of men,
That's why they cheat.
certain sect of upper echelon men that are denying women. But men on the regular are not doing that. If you are an average female, you're getting more DMs than an upper echelon guy, period. I'm gonna just be real.
But then,
Men are a lot more loose with who they will be with. So even that, I don't agree with that point.
Why do you say that men are a lot more loose with who they choose to be with?
You haven't talked to one of your homies and they talk to a girl that you might have thought what might have been questionable, but they're like, yeah, I'll hit that. Or if they're drunk enough, yeah, I'd hit that. 2-3 shots, yeah, I'm in there.
But what do
I'm
you
sure,
mean by that?
and be real, I'm sure there's probably a couple girls that you said like, she might not be the baddest, but if I took 3-4 shots, yeah, I'll be in there. Be real. You've never seen somebody like that as a man?
But what do you mean by that? Like, how is that gendered? Because I see that on
It's
both
gendered
sides.
in a sense of like this.
I see that
As a woman, just because I literally said it, I can't put it any more plainly. As a woman, you need more from a man than just being attractive. As a man, you don't.
But
If a bitch works at McDonald's and she's bad enough, you're gonna smash. If a nigga works at McDonald's but he looks good, the girl's not gonna pick that dude up. You could work at McDonald's as a female and a millionaire is gonna hit you up and come on the yacht and do that. You think that's gonna happen to you? I don't think either of us are ugly men.
Even
But let's
then,
be
like,
real.
That's
The playing field is different. So I hate the fact that we try to compare men to women, period.
yeah. But even then, like it is kind of. Fuck. That's such a thin line.
Fuck.
It's such a thin line because like on one side of it,
girls can fuck.
Yeah, on one side of it, you do have a lot of women that are just like that because it's more of a class.
Exactly.
It's
Do you
more of
think that's a
class
majority or
and status thing.
minority?
I'm
But
gonna say
it's
it's
more of a
majority.
It's more of a
Majority.
class
You
and
think a
status
majority
thing,
of women
and-
are fucking niggas that they don't that's only good looking? No, they has to offer something. How much? That's why women are asking how much money do you make on dates and all that other
Well,
shit. You need more.
We would have to
You
again.
just answered the question and said that you wouldn't fuck a nigga just because he looks good.
This is me though, but again, you're
Most women wouldn't.
no, but again, if that's the case, then there wouldn't be so many baby mama, baby daddy drama if a motherfucker wasn't fucking somebody who just looked good but was a bum. So let's be
Right.
for real. Women do the
No,
exact-
because you
How
also
many-
said it earlier in the show where you said a lot of motherfuckers are going to show you what they want to show you to get in the box.
Yeah, again.
So yes, they're gonna act. They're gonna show you what they want to show you as men to get in that fucking box. But let's be real. If you knew that nigga was a bum from the get-go and he had nothing to offer you but look good, you are not gonna fuck that nigga. The only reason why you
Again.
fuck that nigga is because you thought he had more to offer you. Women look for potential while men look for what you're doing right now in your past.
Also, that's very much true. But again,
Period.
what we talked about the other day, women, what are we gonna do? Again, potential. So if he may be a bum and he may work there, we'll give you a chance. And guess what? It still fuck with you. Again, let's be for real. How many friends we know that's in baby mama and baby bad daddy drama? Let's be for real and put it on the playing field where we at. We aren't the upper echelon people. We're not talking about them. Let's keep it on the playing field like regular, everyday people.
But those same baby mamas, are they getting play or no?
Shit, yeah.
You think the baby daddies aren't getting
Exactly.
played?
Exactly. You guys are missing
They're
my
both
point.
getting
They're both getting played. It's a lot of women that will build a nigga.
I know a lot of niggas that got baby mamas that ain't getting no play afterwards,
None
but
at
the
all.
baby mama got another boyfriend and all that shit.
Not at all.
Give him time.
It's
He
not
gonna find
the
a
same.
wife.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
It's-
Won't take care of his kids, but hey, take care of somebody else's.
Would you guys say that it's easier for a
Man or a
or a woman to find somebody in the
hook
right
up
now?
with?
In the right now.
Man
Not
or
on
woman?
some-
Is it easier for a man or woman to find somebody to hook up
Not
with?
on the long term.
I'm asking the women right now. I
I
need to
already
know
told y'all,
honest opinion.
niggas are easy. I'm gonna say it's women. It's nothing. It's nothing for women too.
But it's because it's because of how you talked about your nature. You guys are willing to fuck anything.
Exactly, and we know
so
that.
even with being with, you could be in a great situation. You could be in a great situation, and you with your homeboys or something, and you guys get distracted by a bitch. You know what I mean? And now you over there. I don't know. I think that when it comes to women and men, and I understand we shouldn't be comparing them both because they're different, but I do think that the hookup culture, men are still like, I get that there's a 1% that aren't getting fucked, but fuck, bro, y'all still fucking out here.
So in your opinion, you think men are winning from the hookup culture, not women?
Yeah, because you guys essentially get to pick.
Crazy,
I think
bro.
both
That's
are
fucking
women.
wild. I'm hearing that. Do you agree with that, bro?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I
Like,
think
we
both.
just discussed
I can't
earlier
agree
that
to that.
women are the gatekeepers of sex.
I think both
So
are
how are
benefiting.
men
Exactly.
winning from hookup culture?
If we wanna-
women are.
I think both are winning. So again, how you want to measure
agree.
that? I think both are, because if you're a man and a bitch want to fuck, she didn't told you, so you ain't got to do all the work now. She'll come to you. She'll pick you up.
How often does that happen?
Vice versa.
So, quick
Again,
question.
let's talk about demographics. Where you go? If you in the hood, more often than not. If you're living in Gilbert, probably not. So let's be for real.
I don't know. Those white girls are nice.
Who do you think is happening more to, men or women? Do you think more women are like, hey, man, I want to fuck you, or more men are like, hey, woman, I want to fuck you?
You said the same thing twice.
No, I said, do you feel like men are saying more to women, hey, I want to fuck you, or do you feel like women are saying more to men, hey, I want to fuck you? You guys are
I think men.
the ones being pursued. Men are the pursuers. That's just not happening, India. That's a one-off situation you're mentioning. I love the fact that when I talk to women about these things, you guys love mentioning the one-off situation of the anomaly. That's not something that happens on the regular. That is not something that happens on the regular at all. At all. The reality for men is it sucks. They get no play from women. They don't talk to them. Period.
Reality for men is there's apps, there's websites, there's
Exactly.
blog articles.
And then if you
all
ask
of these
niggas
things-
how are you doing?
hold on.
bro?
All
Okay.
of these things to try to give men at least some type of extra hand in how to approach women, or how to at least have a chance with the women that they like, because 9 times out of 10, men don't have that kind of a choice.
Like, why
it's
do you
just
think
not
that the
our-
woman sexual marketplace, like, let's put it like this. Why do you think women strippers make more? Why do you think that women porn stars make more? Why do you think that OnlyFans women make more? Because there is a sexual marketplace for women. That is not there for men.
Yeah, it's just not a thing.
Period.
It just doesn't exist right now.
Because girls
Maybe
care
one
more
day.
about
Not right now. It
I
just won't
believe that.
exist. It won't. Maybe in the future.
But
Like,
also
I'm not a
I wouldn't
fortune
have it
teller. I'm not a
portrayed
genie. you
from
know
the
what I'm
beginning
saying?
of time, though. So I mean, I'm not surprised that there's a marketplace for us, because think about how we have been marketed, and I don't want to say sexualized, but I'll say sexualized since the beginning of time.
But that's real.
sure.
That's real.
So let's be for real, like-
because a part of that is the traditional lifestyle, is an understanding that the woman is the bearer of the family. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of pride and respect that goes into you being the woman in my relationship, because my whole household has to go through you to even begin in this world. But now again, we're in a culture that promotes a more promiscuous lifestyle, to where that respect, that dignity is almost null and void. Now it's like, okay, shoot, I can go down the street and we can get a science experiment for a child. We don't even have to work like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
And
so
it's not only that, but I just feel like we live in a culture now too where, like, and this is on guys and girls side, the moment you deal with something with your partner, you're not willing to stick it out. You're willing to jump on the next person. Why do I got to deal with you when I can just hop on Tinder or Instagram or something like that? The next person's gonna hit me up and be cool with that. You know what I mean? So I think that attributes to
Absolutely, I agree with that too. Options. Everybody think they have options. now.
Everybody's got options.
yeah,
It's-
the
they're-
grass is always green on the other side.
Always.
depending
And
on who
again,
you're
and let's not forget, social media is an illusion. So you think something is green on the other side, and that bitch living outside. It's a lot of pretty bitches on IG who homeless.
Yeah,
There's a
you
lot
ain't
of pretty
lying.
bitches
You
on
ain't
IG that's
lying.
homeless.
On both sides, men and female.
Men and women on social
Men and
let's
women.
keep-
Y'all
let's,
fucked
let's
up.
really get into it. Like what social media makes you think and become. It makes you think you should keep up a facade, be something that you're not. On both sides. So that's just what
it's
I'm
that image. It's that media
It's the image,
You
exactly.
you gotta be a personality,
for
not a
sure.
person.
So
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you guys this. How do you see the future of hookup culture? Is it going to continue to evolve, or is it going to fade away?
I think with all things, history repeats itself. So I think it's, we're in that stage right now, and then eventually it'll revert back. Something may happen. No, I don't want to having kids anymore. Oh, we should get married. Or hopefully they bring these fucking prices down. I'll have a baby tomorrow. You bring back 2007 prices, I'll have a baby tomorrow. So again, I think it depends on the state of this economy, you know what I'm saying, and different things like that. Because this economy got people staying together that shouldn't be together, but rent $1,800 for a 2-bedroom.
And we staying in this
And we
league.
staying together, so we gonna stay together.
Exactly.
It's expansive.
Look, I want to take care of you, baby, but I could, I only got so much.
And the gas is $4.50 every other 2 days. So it just depends. Desperate times come for desperate measures.
You know what I'm saying? What you think, my guy? What you think, DBs?
Hey, honestly, I think everything lives on a bell curve. You know what I mean? It's gonna have its ups, and then it's going to have its downs, and it's gonna just find its place in society. You know what I mean? Like, at this point in life, this is still technically new. Yeah. So you know what I mean? Like, we're not even at the top of the bell yet. You know what I mean? So it's still kind of adapting, and then we're going to learn our lessons once things get too bad, and we see the consequences of all of this bullshit. We're going to learn our lesson. You know what I mean? Sure. That's why I personally believe that regardless of anything, this is still just a phase. And we're going to realize as a whole, men and women, just how much we need each other. You know what I mean? And that's not just to make a stance against anybody. Like, you know what I mean?
Not real.
Period.
Regardless of anything, you live your life, but nobody's meant to be alone. That's not a product of life. You got a belly button for a reason. You know what I mean? You come from somebody. You need to be around somebody.
Period. We're social beings as humans. Homo sapiens, we are social beings.
I think so. I just think the conditions of what we do, I think, again, back to the olden times, or again, different things. If you didn't have a choice or you're limited, you put up with certain things. But now in this age of liberation, there's more opportunity, economic, for men and women, people of color. I think that changed a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So what about you, Erika? You got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, I feel like I think it'll eventually go down, and I think, like you said, I think it's gonna be on some like teach us a lesson type shit. I think one day, on the news they're gonna be like, all right, we've officially declined 100,000 motherfuckers because none of these girls out here want to have kids, and that'll show everybody in the Western world that either you get married, you have kids, and we keep going as a human race, or we don't. So that's where I think.
But like DB said, we're not meant to be alone. But I just think with this generation, what I see with a lot of us black and brown folks is going to therapy, unlearning generational curses. I think a lot of us, I put myself in there. I'm a product of a single mother. My mother had me at 17.
So
my parents should not have, you know what I'm saying? But I can sit there and unpack that and realize, I saw X, Y, and Z. So let me be better. I think our parents and our grandparents didn't have that opportunity. That, that was, you're going to go see that lady. You know what I'm saying? That was a joke. So mental health is a real thing. Unlearning generational curses for black and brown people.
Especially in black.
You mentioned that.
And men especially.
You mentioned that a few times. But for me, personally, when I hear generational curses, it sounds a lot like systemic racism. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the curses that black people say that they suffer from are products of systemic racism.
That's what it all goes back
real
to.
quick, guys,
at the end of the day,
I don't want to take it into systemic racism.
No, but I was just gonna say, so at the end of the day, regardless of anything, like the dynamic of what happens inside of a household has been changed a lot by the government. And I personally feel like the reason why I say that I feel like this all lives on a bell curve is because eventually people are going to not like the fact that the government is in their household 24/7. People are not going to like the fact that other people are judging how they should live their life. You know what I mean? Eventually, after all of this stuff is said and done, people are going to say, okay, I want to control what's going on inside of my house. And then we are going to have boundaries. Fuck what the neighbors' boundaries are. We're going to have boundaries.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's why I say, like, all that other, you said it several times, but I think that that's a main reason why things are going to change once people realize what they're doing to themselves.
Yeah. We kind of good.
And we can't see repercussions till 20 years down the line. So we'll see.
I did want to touch on that too. I do agree that we haven't been around long enough in the hookup culture to understand what the effects are, like the adverse effects are anyway. I do think that it's something that as time goes on, we will learn lessons from. So I completely agree with what you guys are saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do think that there's going to come to a point where we've been telling people so long, you don't need another person, you don't need this person. You could do bad all by yourself on both sides, guys and girls. And I think that eventually we're going to see a generation of people that are lonely. And hopefully, I'm hoping, I don't know if this is something that's going to happen or not, because there's what could happen and what should happen. You know what I mean? I think that what we could see is in the future, a lot of people that are single that did go through these things that we're talking about with hookup culture, being lonely, things like that, et cetera, will instruct the new generation that that's not the way to go. So I think it can go either way. It just depends on what we do as a generation in society. And I think that's kind of the reason why we put these videos out, because we want to be informative, we want to be educational. And I think that people should instruct people like, hey, this isn't something that we should continue to do. You know what I'm saying? Like the nuclear family is something that's worked this entire time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? I understand that everybody has their own situations on how they feel about hookup culture, and hey, if it's worked out for you, shouts out. You know what I'm saying? I just think that we as a people, like we kind of discussed a little bit, I think that we are social beings. I think that to make it to the end of life, we do need to find who our person is. You know what I'm saying? So
I do, but I don't also think that's not the end all be all. I think we should find someone, but also if you don't feel bad about it. You gave it your best shot. And then and listen, that's just the way it is. There's someone for everyone, but guess what? It does not always work out. And I don't want to be that person, but I feel like sometimes we get so wrapped up into marriage and it's supposed to work. There's divorce for a reason. And if you don't work out, or maybe you are married, you get divorced, or maybe you know, it happens. People died alone in the Bible. It happened. I ain't trying to get religious on you, but it happened. There's people out here who die every day, single, young and old. And that's just the way it is. So I don't want to push that you have to have someone. It's great. I think we should all have someone. Life is much better when you have someone, but don't act like if you don't have one, that you don't have a life. It's not worth living. You failed.
For sure. I don't think that that's the case at all. But one thing that I do want to make sure that we mention before we do get out of here is I think that that's not a message that we should preach. No. I understand that everybody could be happy being by themselves. Everybody could do bad by themselves. But us as humans, we do better when we're together.
Absolutely. Men,
women, like I don't think it comes down to a gender at the end of the day. I just think that us being social beings, we do better when we're together. Yeah. So I don't want to preach that message that I agree with you. I think that if you do end up by yourself, hey, like it's not the end of the world. Like, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? You came in this world by yourself, you're going to go by yourself. So at the end of the day, you need to be comfortable with who you are as a person. Because if you're not comfortable with who you are as a person, how do you expect to find somebody anyway?
Exactly.
So I 100% agree with you. I just want to make sure that we're not leaving the message to young children that, hey, if you don't find anybody, whatever. You know what I mean?
Well,
I think that everybody should strive to
go into the retirement home with your best friend.
Time out.
Not give up.
Time out. I think that we should strive to be happy with ourselves.
Agreed.
But we should understand that we are social beings. So if it doesn't work out, like you said, 100% fine. It is what it is. But I don't want people to get the message that that's how it should be. Yeah. I think that everybody has their person. I think that we should try to find our person, or at least be receptive to it.
I think you shouldn't be open.
You need to learn. If you can't find it, you need to learn how to be comfortable with yourself. Yeah. That's my opinion.
I feel like you shouldn't be open to giving up. That should never be your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Shit, we can keep going. It shouldn't be your immediate options when it comes down to it. At the end of the day, we all deserve an opportunity to find our person, because happiness is a part of humanity.
Amen.
You can't sit in depression and not think of things that would make you happy. We're driven to things that make us happy, that make us live in peace. We're all driven to that thing. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're not in peace, don't settle to think that, okay, well, this is just my place. You know, maybe everybody else deserves it, but this is just my place. Like, no, you deserve it just as much as the person next to you. I don't care how blessed they are. You deserve it just as much as them. Keep working. The goal is consistency, not happiness.
I would say that, but again, I would also want to tell people that again, that's like you shouldn't be alone, but also if you end up alone, it's not the end all be all, because it's not going to always work out, and that you need to be realistic and tell people that. Like, I think nobody wants to consider that, but that's an option. It's not going to always work out. I'm not saying don't give up, but also don't be discouraged either if it don't work out. Don't think you're a failure. No, keep going, but also, you know what I'm saying. So I would just say, let's put it out there. You should find someone. You know, absolutely, I'm all for that, but also if you don't. It's not the end all be all. We all
it sounds like what we're all saying is moral of the story. You want to be with somebody, but if you don't, you need to be comfortable with who you are at the end of the day. Period.
Exactly.
No matter what you're doing, you know what I mean? And honestly, it sounds like we all got a lot more to talk about when it comes to the hookup culture and things
Definitely
like that.
Part two.
We need to do a part 2, and you guys are fucking with what we're talking about today. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know.
Yeah,
put it in the comment section. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Call in, shit. We're gonna have a call coming. Caller number 9. Come on in.
You know what I'm saying? I got the best panel in the world, man. I got some great perspectives today, and if we do need to do a part 2 and the people fuck with it, we will do that. I appreciate you guys for coming out. Before we do get out of there today, I want to make sure if people fucked with your opinion and your perspective, I want to make sure that they can find you, that they can come to what you're doing, they can support what you're doing if they really fuck with who you are. So just real quick before we get out of here, I just want to make sure that you guys share your handles, what you're doing, let the people know what's up. You know what I mean? Like, so India, one more time, if you can just tell the people where they can find you
Absolutely. Thank y'all for listening in. My name is India. You can find me on Instagram, Fraise Indy. That's French for it's India, FRAISINDE. Again, that's Fraise India, FRAISINDE, Indy with the brimmy and maybe a stemmy.
And I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I've known India for about 10 years, man. One of the dopest people I've ever met.
10 years, man, to the date.
And she's got some cold stuff coming up. She's a dope comedian. She's got dope content. Don't miss out, y'all. Look her up. Check it out. You know what I'm saying? Gang. Dbeezy.
And like I said earlier, just in case y'all forgot, it's your boy DbeezyBaby.
Dbeezy.
Holla. That's everywhere. DbeezyBaby. That's DbeezyBaby. Don't forget the baby. All right, I'm sensitive.
Don't forget the baby.
Yeah, I mean, if you want the real vibes, come on this side.
And I already told you what's up, bro. He is a dope artist. I've
Yes,
heard a lot
sir.
of his music. He's got new projects coming. My man is in the studio, in the lab, always working, bro.
Right
He got
now.
some cold shit.
Right
bro.
now.
If you like that vibey music, if you like to smoke, if you a stoner and you want something to vibe out to, look up Dbeezy on all
Listen,
platforms. I don't
Should
care.
I? It's called Should I? Should I? DbeezyBaby. Should I? It'll blow your fucking mind.
Should I? You know what I'm saying? Real talk. He's on Apple Music, Spotify, all platforms if you want to hear him. You know what I mean? Check my
Yeah,
voice,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And last but not least, we got the queen over here. What's your name, girl?
My name is Erika. Again, I'm the co-host here, and I'm at Erika Brindley, and that's Erika with a K. Last name BRIN as in Nancy DLEY. You know, I'm just come check me out. Not much going on.
And that is my co-host right there, family. She's going to be in a lot more shows. You guys are going to see her, show her some love, give her a little bit of appreciation, give her a follow, and just drop in her inbox and let her know what you guys want us to talk about. You know what I mean? If you got something that we haven't talked about or some points that we maybe missed, you know what I'm saying? Let us know.
Hell yeah.
We're here for y'all. You know what I mean? We really appreciate y'all. We're here every week. We're dropping a new episode every single week. Again, family, I appreciate you guys for coming out, and we're going to keep
Appreciate
showing up.
you.
Again, this is the world according to us. WAEU, where feelings don't matter to these facts,
facts do.
baby.
Facts, dude.
We gone. Peace.